Welcome to the Bounty Zero X podcast. I'm your host, Angelo Adam, founder and CEO of Bounty Zero X. Bounty Zero X is a decentralized bounty hunting network powered by the BNTY token. My guests on the show is Stefan Krastev and David Bonev. Stefan is co-founder and CEO of Cures Token. Stefan's background is in consulting and project manager. Since March 2017, Stefan has co-founded Vision Technology. David has extensive experience in organization, marketing, and management, applying a powerful combination of creativity, organizational, and leadership skills. He's been responsible for managing activities at the highest level, single-handedly organizing, coordinating, and ensuring compliance action plans and work targets on department levels while in charge of work process in directorate, finance, economics. So welcome to the podcast, gentlemen. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us, yeah.
Yeah, so on our podcast, we talk to CEOs and developers in the cryptocurrency space, and we're excited to talk to you guys today about the project Cures Token that you're working on. So maybe one of you can give me a brief introduction on what the project is and the problem that you're solving.
Okay, this would be brilliant. Yeah, just for the record, this is Stefan speaking. Brief introduction is something that might not be quite easy to do because the project is actually quite diverse and big. It's an ecosystem of 6 platforms, but let's start from the basic. We are in the healthcare sector, and we're working on solving a few pressing issues in the healthcare sector. Probably you know, healthcare is a huge sector, a huge business sector worldwide. There is, $9 trillion turnover per year right now, and it will grow. However, the healthcare sector really lacks some basic business principles that people should have at their disposal. Transparency is one of them. Very often, people going into care. They don't know the cost up front. They don't know what they're letting themselves into. Transfer of data and the data of patients is very often not in their hands, but it's scattered across various organizations. And of course, the issue of open market competitiveness and the issue of getting the best offer that's out there for you. With our 6 platforms, we're going some way towards solving these issues in the healthcare sector.
Great. So tell me about your backgrounds and what knowledge do you have of the healthcare market overall that you can bring to help you to solve this problem? Do you have prior experience working in healthcare or any type of business experience in this market segment that makes you specifically or acutely aware of some of the issues and problems that are facing this area?
Of course. I'm glad you're asking this question because this allows me the opportunity to bring the rest of the team into this. Because the reality is that neither me or David are medical doctors. However, we have extensive experience in business and more specifically in medical tourism as well. However, on our team, we've got professors of medicines, we've got doctors, we've got former ministers of health who have worked for the government, and we have got people who are actually medical researchers and have done clinical research. So we're drawing upon the competence of the whole team into this. We specifically have worked on project, as I mentioned, for medical tourism, and we know a lot about the sector from there as well. Because the reality is that a lot of people are searching for better opportunities in a country other than the place they live in. For instance, it can go 2 ways. It can go, for example, for people going to a country where healthcare is more advanced to receive treatment that they can't get at home. Or what is happening on a mass scale in the last years is people going abroad for treatments that are many times more cost effective than they are back home for the same treatment. And accessibility is actually a very serious problem which can be solved. As I said again, the team is diverse, and we've got health consultants that work with us on a daily basis and a number of clinics that have already been incorporated into the project. So this is, in a nutshell, our background and the involvement in the project in the medical world really so far.
Great. So let me switch over to David. So David, I want to switch over to you and ask you a couple questions to get you involved also.
Yes.
Stefan, thanks for giving us intro to the platform and a little bit of background about your team and the project. So David, tell me a little bit about how you and Stefan met.
Well, with Stefan, we met through our background, which specifically mine is I've been working as a banker for the past 7 years. For the past 2 years, I've been working in a private equity firm as an investment banker. And I have always tried to differentiate the portfolio of our investors. And I was always looking for some cutting edge projects with the team that has already proven itself to making, let's say, the impossible possible. In this case, with Stefan, I've heard a lot about his project Vision, which was a software which is actually in our marketplace, and it's actually the first ever software for colorblind people, which after you install it on your computer, not via some physical glasses or things like this, which are actually being advertised on the internet. No, in his software that he developed and managed to make actually possible and give free to all the schools of our country, but that's another subject. This software allows for the first time colorblind people to be able to see colors. And this was amazing. On top of it, him and his team gave it for free. And this was something that, I mean, for me, it was very emotional to see a peer of my country to do such an amazing work and for non-profit. I wanted to meet with him, and we have discussed what we can do in the future. But he wanted to do something much more global, and we needed the team of professionals and visionaries to make this possible. We both have a lot of connection throughout the government and via the hospitals that we had, first of all, in our country. Afterwards, let me just to make a brief input. At the moment, we have already managed to sign more than 83 hospitals worldwide to work with the Cures token, which was a great success for us, considering how difficult it is to explain to a hospital that they would have to receive cryptocurrency, what cryptocurrency is, but the moment that we explained to them that this would give them, not only them, but this would profit not only them, but also the end users by lowering the cost via via saving the taxes and transfers. They were very excited, and we started contracting and signing a lot of partners.
And so what do these partnership agreements that you signed consist of? Do they agree to try out your software once it's ready, or?
Yes, it's a preliminary agreement that they can give their names and their logo, that we can put it on our platform. And once the platform is ready, they can receive our Cures token as a payment for the users that have bought it. Not only that, but some of them has actually even participated in the purchase of our token.
Well, to be honest, if I can just compliment what David said there, the business-to-business communication that we've had since the launch of our token offer has been, this has been one nice surprise, because originally when we launched it, you know what it's like, trying to explain to doctors of medicine and professors who are okay, very clever people, in the top most clever people in the world, but they are differently minded. And to explain to them about the technological miracle that blockchain gives us and the opportunities that give us and the actual benefit that could be given to them as medical providers and as medical doctors and as clinics and as private practitioners, we thought that this would be a much harder task than it turned out to be. And the response is actually overwhelmingly good. On them for a second, because for them we're actually solving a few pain points, and I think this is the secret behind any successful business. One is the transfer of medical data for the patients. They have the opportunity to actually see a person and then see everything that's happened before, of course, granted that they've received the permission from this patient. Also, they can compete on an open market for different services that they offer, but also receive a very how should I say, trusted review from only patients and clients that have actually conducted a transaction with them. So no one can go on this trust review system and just post, whatever they like. They must have actually used the services to be able to do this. And we have actually quite a comprehensive B2B platform for people who offer medical equipment. And medical equipment suppliers, it could be for things like, personal stuff like hearing aids or spectacles, to big, machines for laser operations that people do in the cosmetic clinics. So the B2B communication in that respect has been really well. But I would like to turn this around for a second and mention that we actually have got a charitable trust fund with 5% of the total token supply. And this charitable trust fund will be aimed at supporting projects that are actually aimed at healthcare in not so much developed parts of the world. And this is where actually the strong community will take charge and decide on which projects will be supported by it.
Okay, great. That sounds very interesting. So let me switch topics and discuss the roadmap. So you guys have plans to launch the marketplace and the trust review platform in Q1 of 2019. Can you tell me a little bit about the current development that is ongoing on the platform for the marketplace and other types of development that you have ongoing currently?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the platform, the roadmap that we've published on the website, it's actually going on pretty well. And the alpha version of the marketplace we've launched already. Obviously, there's a lot of tests now, which we're doing together with our clinics. Our aim was at the end of Q1 to launch the marketplace and trust review platform with a minimum of 100 approved medical, clinics globally. And as David mentioned earlier, we're not far off this target. And we still got 1 month from Q1, so that's good. So this is actually going very well. The Hub Store is virtually ready. We already have our own app Vision, which helps people with various sorts and degree of color vision deficiency use a device more, how should I say, enjoyably. So this is going fine really as well. Probably the main thing that we are excited about at the moment is the electronic health records, because this is actually a development that solves a lot of pain points for clinics, but for patients alike. And what's also good is that, okay, patients can, be the ones who are in control of their medical data. But this will be available very soon to users. But what is an innovation there as well is that they can also monetize their medical data by giving restricted access to it for various statistical surveys or medical surveys or service of that kind, service and researches of that kind. So actually, with that in mind, I mean, we've got quite good development power behind our backs, and the roadmap is being followed very strictly. This is actually something that we discussed and thought about a lot from the very beginning. And I think a key to a project like ours is to have a very realistic timetable that you can, adhere to. And, if you don't, then you must have very valid reasons for it. But if you just put a very ambitious timetable there and a roadmap and then don't stick to it, this isn't going to speak a lot of good to your future users and clients.
So maybe you can give us a brief overview of how the electronic health record system works. So basically, Cures Token EHR records will be accessible to patients when they change doctors or move abroad. So they'll basically have access to all their medical records that were generated from these participating doctors and hospitals.
Correct. Well, you see, it's on the surface. On the surface, patients won't even, realize that the blockchain is involved. So from a user perspective, it will be very user-friendly. But the difference here is that, yes, patients will actually, at the moment, medical records exist. For example, every time you've been to a hospital somewhere or to a doctor somewhere, a record has been created for this visit and for the condition that has been observed and the treatment prescribed. However, this information is scattered across many, many different providers. And if the patient, goes to another provider, then they have to very often start from zero. Yes, you can get access to your own medical data, but it is a painful process because you have to go individually to the different medical providers and sometimes even be charged for getting access to your own medical information. Now, with the electronic health records, patients are actually in control of their record and they give authorized access to the different actors. So, for example, if they go to a new doctor, they can give them access, and this is recorded through a smart contract on the blockchain, the actual granting of permission to access the electronic health records. Our aim with this is to achieve data security and guaranteed credibility of data, one version of all data consumers and no unnecessary delays of data transfers. Of course, this gives the patients a lot of benefits, like not only puts them in the center of the healthcare system, which is another value, but also, for example, imagine expats who are abroad and they want to consult something with their doctor back home. Immediately they can give them access and see what's been happening since they've been abroad. Or imagine also people from, let's say, parts of the world where there's not so many doctors per number of population. And this way they can, use the miracle of telemedicine for their own help. And what is really important really is that with the electronic health records is that patients are put in the center of this process. They're the ones who manage their health data and who give permission and access to it to the various people that they decide to do.
So how will you be incentivizing the medical service providers to start supporting this type of medical records management system?
Well, it makes their life much easier, really. And so far, as I mentioned, we've been pleasantly surprised with the ease of the B2B communication, especially when it comes to electronic health records. Electronic health records still, I want to say we're not inventing the wheel here or the hot water. They exist in one form or another. The problem is to have them uniformed so that when you go from a say, hospital in the US to a hospital in the UK or in Spain or in France, to be able to give access to this hospital to your medical data and for all of this to happen in a transparent and cost-efficient way. Now, to be honest with you, it's I might make it sound smoother than it is, but there is a lot of challenges and obstacles to be overcome here. One challenge, for example, is the technical challenge and the cost effectiveness of challenge, because as you know, storing data on the blockchain, storing actual data on the blockchain is still, challenging from a technical perspective, and it can be quite, let's say, not so cost efficient with the cost of gas. But we're using a combination of system, including the interplanetary file system, and the actual blockchain is used only for recording who gives permission to who and who has actually accessed the data in a way. And with regards to the cost effectiveness, really this solves the issue and makes the electronic health records competitive to use for anyone who is really looking at not only being a healthcare user, but actually someone who is intending to manage their healthcare in a positive way.
Yeah, but it seems to me like the challenge with implementing this is for getting the medical providers to utilize this medical records management software, so that when a patient goes to one of these service providers, the medical records will be integrated into this platform through the hospital or the doctor's office. So when you approach these hospitals or these doctor's offices and you say to them, we have this software and we'd like you to change from the software that you're currently using to our software, how do you incentivize them to take the time and investment to change what they're currently using for medical records management and switch over to the software that you're offering?
Well, this is a brilliant question, and thank you for it. I just want to, maybe correct a thing here. We're not talking about a switch. We're talking about something completely different, an upgrade or something of a different and new generation. Incentivizing, of course, can happen in many ways, but the people who the medical clinics and the providers who agree to be part of our ecosystem obviously get listings and a place on our marketplace as well, which gives them, this has some, actual and some perceived advantages. The actual advantages are that, their base of potential clients and patients widens with a group of people that is predominantly young and a group of people that, are predominantly clever. I'm talking here about the crypto community. And as well with the perceived advantages, it's not a small thing to be involved in okay, you must be in your top game in medicine, but if you are involved in such an advanced technology such as blockchain and utilizing it for the sake of providing patients with security of data and giving them ownership of data, then there's no way that this can be bad for you as a medical provider.
Maybe we can change topics from the electronic healthcare records and briefly discuss the marketplace and trust review system. So, so basically, this is a system which lets users seeking to find medical service providers to go online and browse and search, where they can view the different providers in their area. So if they're in a city, they can see different service providers near them and compare the quality based off of the reviews that people have left them. And
correct.
And then so can you talk a little bit about this marketplace and how it will work?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we've called it marketplace because it really is a type of marketplace. However, it is a marketplace which works on a freemium business model. So all the clinics are free to join there, and there are some premium features that they can purchase. For example, better dashboard with more analytics, but they can't pay to get a better listing up the list of providers in a current area. And also they can't in no way influence the trust review system and the reviews that users leave them. However, a very big advantage for them is the fact that, as I mentioned, only people who have actually made a transaction with them with Cures token recorded on the blockchain through smart contract can leave them a review and give them, let's say, a mark for the service that they have provided. And the decentralized review system guarantees better quality for everyone involved. And Cures token is actually about this, for better quality in healthcare. Now, one interesting feature that I don't think we've touched on yet is the opportunity of people not just to browse their marketplace, the Cures token marketplace, but to also actually submit a request for quote, or more or less auctionize their need for medical treatment, and then get responses back from the competent clinics that are interested and are able to provide this service to them. And obviously, all transactions that happen through the marketplace are conducted in Cures token.
So we can briefly change topics now, and I want to discuss the team that you guys have put together to solve the problems and develop the platforms that you're working on. So you have quite an extensive team of people. Are you guys all working full-time or part-time? And tell me a little bit about what your day-to-day activities are as CEO and as your role as CFO. So David, do you want to go ahead and tell me a little bit about the team that you put together and how you're able to find all these people to work on this, and the daily tasks that you're working on in your role as CFO for the company?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So our team, as people can see on the curestoken.com page, it's international with people from not just the medical sector, but also finance. And as Stefan said, we have also a next minister of health in our midst, and most of our team has already been experienced either in blockchain, finance, or in the medical sector. My specific day-to-day activities consist of following up on the progress of the purchases of our token, and of trying to find the best company which can actually, and we are already probably, let's say 50% ready with the alpha version of the decentralizing of the EHR. Via one of the best software companies, Progress, if I can actually, I hope I don't make any commercial for them. But actually the Progress team, it's a Bulgarian, and they sold their companies for more than 200 millions, and now they're based in New York, and they're actually the people who are working with us. They've actually made some software updates for Microsoft. Most of my specific day-to-day job as well is contacting all of our partners, international ones. We have also made great opportunity to open office in Switzerland with a representative there, and we're also having one in Hong Kong and in Austria. It's where we actually met a lot of people who are interested and found our project to be very, very good and very, very promising.
And Stefan, do you want to tell us a little about what your day-to-day role is and responsibility as CEO?
Of course, absolutely. Well, CEO, this is an interesting, how should I say, role or job description to have. We don't have a typical corporate structure in our team because, as you know, we are blockchain and crypto enthusiasts. So we like to work mostly on the horizontal line, not so much the vertical line. So CEO, I would say, mostly stands for coordinator of ecosystem opportunities than chief executive officer. So my job is obviously in close coordination with the rest of the team, but mostly, bouncing around the marketing and the development department, because obviously the development department is doing a lot of hard work behind the scenes, but the marketing department is letting people know about all the good things we're doing. And we normally have a conference call every morning, a Skype conference call. When I say morning, I mean, morning European time, despite the fact that we've got people all over the place, but everybody makes it. We discuss who's doing what for the week and for the day. And quite often my day is also busy with events which are, again, all over the place. I mean, recently we were in Dubai, London, Malta, Austria, and presented at different events our project, which, as David mentioned, has been met with a very positive response. Also, not a small part of my day or my week is meeting with people who are actually interested in the development of the project. I wouldn't call these people necessarily investors, but let's say people that David's met and vetted as people who would be worthy of developing them to the development, of attracting them to the development of the platform as well. And, meeting with visionary people who can actually help us popularize the project, our ideas, and find new solutions for optimizing our processes. I'll give you an example. Like now, this morning, we've had a long meeting about the forthcoming listing of Curse token in some of the top crypto exchanges. Obviously, we're still in the, token generation event. So we're still in in the time frame of our token offer, but we've got preliminary agreements with a few very trustworthy and very secure exchanges that are going to list us in a matter of a month. And obviously, we'll make a big fuss about it when this happens. No worries. I mean, this will be a grand topic for the marketing team to work on. So this was actually the best part of my day today was dedicated on this.
I might just, if I can also add, I'm absolutely thrilled that in this very bearish market, we have actually, we were very, very fortunate, and the whole team and I and Stefan to reach our soft cap, where last year, after the first quarter, more than 84% of the ICOs failed to even reach their soft cap. And we did not only that, but as I've mentioned, we have found peers of ours which give their own offices so they can be our representative. And we're currently having representatives with offices in London, Hong Kong, Zug in Geneva, which was great. It took us more than 3 months and took a very, very expensive professional legal team to set this up. So we actually being at this stage, I might say that we're being at this stage one of the most successful ICOs out there at the moment. And this is hard facts data.
Yeah, that's congratulations. So
thank you for that.
Yeah.
Thanks,
So what have been so you mentioned this with your pre-sale being a success. So what have been some of your greatest successes so far besides that? What are some of the things that you're most proud of that you've been accomplishing in the past few months?
Well, to be honest, it's I don't want to brag about it or show off, but I think that sticking strictly to the roadmap we have developed is a great thing. And I think this is a great thing that sets us aside from many other projects. And another great thing has been our ability, as David mentioned, to make a success in the bearish market that we've got available. And the third one, which I'm mostly thrilled about, is our developments on the electronic health records. I know how hard the guys in our development team are working on it, and this is really a breaking innovation, I mean, globally. I'm not saying, I don't want to undermine the other elements of our project, like Marketplace or Marketplace for medical equipment suppliers, the innovative charitable trust fund, and the medical assurance platform. But the reality is that the Hub Store is very innovative, but the real innovation and the real element that will solve a lot of pain points is the electronic health records. And we are actually a few steps away from launching the first version of them. So this is something that makes me particularly proud. And this is an element of our project that we're going to develop in the long term, including with a security token offer later in the year, which will give even further evidence to our supporters and early adopters how seriously we're taking things by putting them on a more long-term surface, but also making sure that the legal framework gives them even greater protection than they have at the moment.
Okay, and just to ask a follow-up question on the electronic health record system, can you speak to the business plan for monetizing that service and how you plan to generate revenue from that product?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, the electronic health records will be a paid service. So people will have to pay for it on subscription basis. I'm talking here about patients and individual users. Again, of course, they can also, it gives them the opportunity to monetize their data. So if they're using the opportunities of the electronic health records wisely, it can work out for them at a very basic level, absolutely free of charge, or they can even earn money through it. Very simple business model, subscription-based, and then also giving them the chance to monetize their data through sharing it with various, surveys, with big companies and organizations who are making clinical researches or are following, certain trend in the population. However, of course, in the electronic health records, there will be a certain element of reward included. If you're following, say, certain health patterns, or if you're following exactly the plan that your doctor or medical service provider has prescribed to you, then you will be rewarded in Cures token. And, to be able to do that, to be able to receive these rewards in Cures token, of course, first of all, you must have to subscribe to the electronic health record.
So you're going to be offering drug companies and research companies the ability to purchase the data from
No, I'll stop you right there. This is absolutely not what we're going to do. And I'm glad you're asking, because maybe someone listening to the podcast might have thought that, this is exactly what we're going to do. No, we're not Cambridge Analytica, and we're not Facebook. We're not any of the nowadays 800 pounds gorillas in the internet and data world. We're going to give the patients who are the actual owners of data the right, should they decide to, make the informed decision to do so. We're not going to do anything like this for them. And also, we're going to give them the opportunity to give access to the right amount of data. Cryptocurrency, cryptography, they're going to be able to encrypt their data and maybe give access to only the data that is of value to the person who's doing the research, say their age, their sex, and maybe the frequency of a given medical condition, like how many times they contracted the flu over the past couple of years, but not give away their very personal details or details that they don't feel secure of, letting go. So,
and this is also, I'm sorry, just to interrupt, this is also another way for them to monetize on their own data.
So how much money do you think a patient can earn by selling their data on average to the companies who are interested in purchasing it? So what value is an individual person's healthcare data? What have you done any research on that to look into how much a person can generate from selling their health data to potential buyers?
Well, this is an interesting question, but to be honest, it's very hard to put your finger on a figure at this point right now, for several reasons. First of all, if we're applying the free market principles, obviously it will depend completely on supply and demand. The other thing that I'd like to say is that it's hard to estimate and give and compare because no one's doing what we're planning to do right now. So we have no base for comparison. I mean, if we were going to, say, produce televisions or mobile phones, we could look at the mobile phones on the market and give an estimate of what ours will cost and how much you can earn from it if you're selling it. But giving access to your own medical data through the blockchain in a recorded, safe manner is actually an innovative concept. So it would be difficult to put our finger on an actual figure right now. And that's why actually I'm hesitant to do this. The free market will show the right figure.
Okay, interesting. That sounds like it'd be interesting to find out how much that's worth. So far in your since starting this project and developing it, what have been some unexpected obstacles that you've encountered that when you started you weren't anticipating, but in retrospect now you look at and can look back on and think that that was not something that you had anticipated?
Yeah, okay. Should I go for this one?
Yeah, please.
It's up to you, either you or Dave.
Okay, well, see, the planning of our project and the way we engineered things, I wouldn't say that we have experienced any serious hurdles or obstacles whatsoever. One thing, however, we were not totally prepared for was the very bearish market since January, or let's say more like February last year. And why am I saying this? Because obviously it affected the crowdfunding that we are running, but also it affected somehow the mentality of people who are not really into the cryptocurrency sector, because quite often last year after the sharp drop in market capitalization for cryptocurrencies, if you went out there and spoke to people who know nothing about it, once you mentioned blockchain, everybody was saying, oh, it's that Bitcoin thing, it turned out to be a fraud and things like this. So working around this image, how should I say, this image challenge was something that was one obstacle and one hurdle that I didn't expect we'll have to go through, and it was a surprising one. But it has taught us a lot of things, and to be honest, we all know you can never predict the future, but one of the slogans of our company, and it's actually hanging on a big poster in our office, says the best way to predict the future is to create it. So we are creating right now what we see as the future of healthcare. And because we are creating it and engineering it, I don't think we will come across many obstacles in the future as well.
Okay, so on that note, so over the next, let's say, 12 months, what would be some good metrics to use in order to measure the success that you have over the next 12 months? So, for example, can you give us some idea for what you would consider to be a good metric to use to judge your success over the next 12 months?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, see, because it's a varied ecosystem of 6 platforms. Each one of them actually is like a little baby of its own. So let's say if you've got 6 kids, you're hoping with this period, one of them to start talking, the other one to start walking, the third one to start running. So I wouldn't want to go into very detailed figures right now, but of course the most important thing for us would be to build traction and enlarge our user base over the next 12 months and make the project an actual true business success after the ICO is finished. And this will happen in many ways. This will happen in attracting enough number of business customers to our B2B platforms and attracting enough individual users for the health records, but also as users of the marketplace. I'm really hoping that this would allow us also to develop the charitable trust fund, the Cures Token Charitable Trust Fund, and support some projects as well, although the Cures tokens that we've got there are time locked for a specific period, so there's not going to be much activity there in the next 12 months exactly. But within 12 months, yeah, my main, how should I say, aim, my main not dream, but my main target would be to build traction and attract as much users to the platforms of the Cures token ecosystem.
Okay, great. And do you have any other upcoming dates that are important for you? For example, do you have a launch date in mind, or do you have other announcements or other important dates coming up in the future that you'd like to share?
Yeah, well, I'd like to mention that all of these news are are regularly updated on our website, curestoken.com. I already mentioned about a very important milestone, which is the listing on a few major exchanges. The news for this will be uploaded on the website in exactly a month's time. So watch out for this. And the milestones that we have immediately right now is that we're launching the official public sale in 3 days. Until now we were in pre-sale stage with different levels of bonuses and so on. Now we're launching the official public sale in exactly 3 days. And well, actually, let's make it 3 things for luck. Official public sale in 3 days, exchange listing in about 30 days, and the rising interest and price of Cures token.
Can you tell us where users can find out more about you?
Well, users and supporters can find all the necessary information about our project on curestoken.com. It's all there, it's updated regularly, or join our Telegram group, which is Cures Token, which, by the way, has already about over 12,000 members, I think, to this date. Well, thank you, guys. We've got a long way to go. We trust that we will succeed. Everyone who wants and can support us can find the necessary information on curestoken.com or on our social channels on absolutely any social network that you can imagine out there.
Yeah, it was a pleasure having you guys on the podcast, and thank you for coming on to talk to us about your project. And we'd love to have you on again in the future when you have more announcements to make.
Thanks,
my guest on the show. Yeah, my guest on the show is Luke, and my guests on the show is David and Stefan, CEO and CFO of Cures Token. Thank you again for coming on. It was a pleasure speaking to you, and we'll speak again soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Bounty Zero X podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast below. Check out bountyzerox.io, the #1 bounty hunting platform where you can complete work and earn cryptocurrency. Please consult your professional financial investment and tax advisors before making any investment in initial coin offerings. Bounty Zero X does not provide investment or financial advice and does not endorse or recommend investment in any ICOs advertised on the Bounty Zero X podcast or website.